I've been wondering whether or not I should make a video on Omori for about a couple weeks now. After first discovering the game about a month ago, I literally cannot get it out of my head. I'd say that the story of Omori is probably my favorite in any medium of fiction, period. Not only is it narratively well written, but the characters have logical development, the story is interesting, and it has an inspiring and feel-good ending, which also makes narrative sense. I've been so interested in the game that I honestly can't really feel satisfied with it unless I make some sort of video on it. Thankfully, the ending's open-ended nature opens the door for a ton of speculation about what might happen after the story. There are a ton of popular theories as well as a couple fully made mods and fan games, but today I'm here to give my own opinion and my own take as to what might happen after the events of the game. Without further ado, let's begin. So, first off, addressing the elephant in the room. Is Sunny forgiven by his friends at the end of the game? To answer this question simply, I'd say yes. Now, I believe this because it simply makes a ton of narrative sense for Sunny to be forgiven. Why? Well, a massive part of his later character development, and remembering the truth, is trusting in his friends that will forgive him once he coughs it up. Coughing up something like this, especially considering it's been hidden for 4 entire years, takes a ton of courage to build up in order to confess. Against all odds, he worked up the courage to tell them, and he also worked up the faith that they'd accept him. Could you imagine how much of a narrative punch in the gut it would be for him to be rejected after all the pain he's endured and trust that he's built up? The rejection might even make him suicidal or depressed again, and that's called character regression, and no one likes character regression. A good example, Dragon Ball Super Goku. It also doesn't make sense for him not to be forgiven because of Omori's dialogue whenever you fight him in the final fight. Omori is the embodiment of Sunny's repression, guilt, trauma, and literally everything negative about himself. This is the trope we've seen before. These characters always feed lies to you and try to get in your head, and that's exactly what Omori does during the fight. More specifically, his dialogue says how his friends will never forgive him and that he's unredeemable, all that stuff. It wouldn't really make sense for Omori to be correct about those things, because he's literally the embodiment of Sunny lying to himself for 4 years. Another reason I believe he'd be forgiven is because Hiro literally says to everyone in the scene outside of Basil's room the true ending route that they shouldn't split up and that they should be there for him. This is a massive lesson that they each individually learn after the falling out and repairing of their friend group. Now, if they don't forgive Sunny, they would be repeating the exact same mistake again. Not trusting in one another, not being there for one another, not loving each other, and separating themselves from one another. Again, that is just undeveloping their characters. Honestly, I don't think Sunny would be forgiven immediately. I think it'd definitely take time for Aubrey and Hiro to come to terms with the truth and forgive him, but I think Kale would probably forgive him relatively quickly. I'd expect Sunny to visit Faraway Town pretty often after he moves, as that was what Aubrey was going to ask him to do, and I feel like Sunny would really want to spend time with his friends as much as possible, for reasons that I'll explain later. I'd also expect Hiro, Aubrey, and Kel to harbor slight resentment towards Sunny for maybe around a year or two after they learn the truth. However, as the months go by, they might come to accept it and slowly begin to forgive Sunny, eventually climaxing in one of Sunny's many visits where they fully forgive him and put the past behind them. But wait, don't click off yet. This video is not just about what happens after the true sequence. This is about what happens even after that. So, what happens after Sunny moves? As I said earlier, he'd probably want to visit pretty often while he's moved, but I don't think he'd just want to visit. Alright, here's the hot take of the video. I don't think it's that far-fetched to say that Sunny would most likely want to move back to Faraway Town at some point during his life. Hear me out. Before I go on with my in-game evidence, I just want to get the inspiration for this theory out of the way. I have a friend that's moved around the USA maybe 10 times or so over his 19-year-long life. After moving to where I lived and meeting me, my brother, all our friends, and living there for about a year, his family had to move again. However, he wants to move back here because he really feels like we're the best friends he's had and that we're his true family. You can probably see where some of the inspiration for this theory comes from. Just note that the concept of Sunny wanting to move back to Faraway Town is not impossible, so keep an open mind. Alright, going on to my in-game evidence. Because Sunny is extremely introverted and socially awkward, and also especially traumatized, it would probably be impossible for him to find new friends to hang out with and be comfortable around. After a year or two, this might lead to even more loneliness than he felt during the 4 years of isolating himself. Sunny would probably feel a profound sense of loneliness and eventually only find peace in the times he visits faraway town with his true friends, which mind you by this point he knows he can trust anything with and truly loves as they've forgiven him by this point. After initially moving, Sunny is only 16, so he's not able to support himself just yet. And as the years go by and he gets older, I'd imagine the sense of loneliness and desire to move back and live with his friends would increase with every day. Eventually, when he gets enough money and or finds a job opportunity in faraway town, he finally decides to move back for good. I don't think it's that far of a stretch to say that during the years Sunny was moved away, that Aubrey would develop a romantic attachment to him and Sunny to Aubrey. I think it's absolutely out of the question for Sunny to really feel at peace and truly trust pretty much any other partner besides Aubrey, and it's shown that he still has a crush on her even 4 years after the incident, so it seems like logical character progression. With the amount of trauma that he's gone through, I feel like Aubrey would also want someone that she could trust with anything, and Sunny would definitely fit that role. And same thing for Sunny. They've both been so traumatized to the point where they probably want someone they could just really feel comfortable and confident with. And they both fit that role because they're obviously childhood friends. So far, here's what we have concluded. 1. Sunny gets forgiven. 2. Sunny moves away. 3. Sunny moves back. But what about everyone else? Well, obviously, they still probably have to deal with the trauma and fallout of Mari's death anyway. It's obviously not perfect, but I feel like with everyone together and the lessons they've learned throughout their lives, I think that the trauma will be a lot less of a problem to tackle as they'd all be together and they know that if someone's having a problem, everyone should get involved and everyone should help. But I specifically mean, how will each individual character live out the rest of their lives? That's what I mean. So, let's talk a bit about it. For Hiro, I unfortunately really don't think it's that much of a stretch to say that he'd probably never fall in love with someone ever again. I'd imagine him as an extremely wealthy doctor who balances work and time with his friends, who's also stinking rich because he's shown to literally excel at everything. Again, he's still extremely traumatized by Mari's death even 4 years after the incident, so unfortunately I don't think it's that much of a stretch to say that he prioritizes work and spending time with his friends rather than pursuing a relationship. It's kind of sad, but honestly I think that it's logical character development. For Aubrey, well, I kind of touched on it earlier, she'd probably fall in love with Sunny. In the real world tag photos, she's shown to still have a soft spot for Sunny, as the Aubrey tagged you photo is the only one where Aubrey isn't threatening physical harm to anyone. I think it's honestly out of the question for Aubrey to fall in love with anyone other than Sunny, as the amount of trauma she's endured might lead her to not feeling safe or comfortable fully trusting in any other partner other than someone she knows she can trust, like Sunny. Unfortunately, there really isn't a lot for Kel. There's no obvious prospects or any possible jobs for Kel, so you know what, let's just say he becomes the best basketball player ever and becomes a multi-millionaire, because he deserves it. For Basil, I could see him becoming some sort of professional biologist, more so a botanist, because gardening isn't really a job. I know I've said this a lot in this video, but I think especially for Basil, he'd only feel comfortable with someone he could really trust and rely on, as he might be the most traumatized out of them all, next to Sunny. And, hey, wait, no, I already discussed something different to that earlier, ignore that, but, yeah, anyway, that's about it for Basil. As corny as it sounds, I think that all the friends would most likely spend the rest of their lives in faraway town, hopefully not having to deal with supposed suicides or seriously traumatic stuff. So, quick recap of my personal theory. Number 1, Sunny is forgiven at the end of the true ending. Number 2, Sunny continually visits faraway town while he's moved away, eventually deciding to move back while he's older. Number 3, Sunny lives in faraway town for the rest of his life with his friends. And, well, that's the end of the video. I'd honestly really like to hear your thoughts on my take in the comments, as I've honestly never seen anyone bring up the idea of Sunny moving back to faraway town after the events of the game. Personally, I think it's a pretty logical step in character progression, but let me know in the comments. This is my first Omori video, as well as my first voiceover video, so hopefully I've conveyed my thoughts and theories well enough. Also, I'm sorry for any times where I might have misspoke or accidentally said something wrong, because I'm not really that good at speaking, which is why I haven't really made a voiceover video ever. So this is my first try doing it, so hopefully I did alright. I've honestly fallen in such love with the game that the only way I could truly feel satisfied with the game is by making some sort of video on it, and I feel like this is exactly what I needed to truly express my love and appreciation for the game as well as my theories. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video, whatever that may be. Goodbye.